Hi, I'm David. I own and operate Country Whatnot Gardens here outside of Rochester, Indiana, which is about an hour south of the Michigan state line. I grow 25 different species and varieties of bamboo, such as this Pseudosausa japonica penjing behind me. I did a video on this a while back. There's a how-to video on it on my channel here. And I'm using this as an example today of confinement and the effects it has on the growth of bamboo. Now, we can see up here the original leaves that it produced in a larger pot right here, the older leaves. And we can see down here newer leaves that have come on. Just as I said, they have reduced, as they say, in size. And you can see it has a couple new shoots coming up as well. It has this one here, and it has this one right back there. Okay. And it also has this new branch coming off of the base, if I can get it to focus, there we go, of this existing culm, one of the two originals that it had when I made the penjing out of it. Now, point is that when it's growing in a restricted space like this tray here, it doesn't have as much room or growth, and that reduces its growth potential as well, thus keeping it kind of pseudo dwarf, I suppose you could say. And which is great for penjing, because like bonsai, you want your penjing subjects to have smaller foliage so that they look to scale with the landscape, right? Now, this applies to bamboo that has been put even in a larger pot or an in-ground root barrier. If I get up and come over here, you can see there's some Sasa oshidensis here. There's a weed in it as well, if I could pull that out of there. But this Sasa oshidensis here is actually growing in a underground root barrier that I made out of a thick plastic barrel. And you can see how thick this plastic is. If I get my camera to focus again, let's see. There we are. Okay, right there. That's decently thick plastic. It's not a thin, cheap plastic, and it goes 3 feet underground. And the reason for that is that this Sasa oshidensis here is growing right next to a division off of my grove of Phyllostyches parvifolia. And I don't want the two to mix. See, the parvifolia will make nice shade for the Sasa oshidensis, and it will be fine. And it has old winter damaged leaves on it here right now that it's still working on dropping, and is changing out with new fresh foliage here. And you can see the parvifolia has done the same. It's rid of all of its old winter leaves and has nice, bright green new foliage on for the season. But point of this is, when you have a bamboo and you constrict the space, it will stay smaller. Now, maximum height on this oshidensis is, I think, around 6 feet. I don't look for it to get 6 feet in this containment, because this isn't very big. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe not quite 24 inches across, and 3 foot deep. So it's not like having the whole ground to grow in. Now, if I took parvifolia here and put in this barrier, it would greatly reduce the size, because parvifolia is a much larger bamboo and needs much more space. It could even run the risk, putting a bamboo that large in a containment this small, it could run the risk of either roots running out the bottom, getting so full, or it could even potentially split that plastic. Now, I can show you what kind of barrel I used to contain that oshidensis. Right, here it is. Here's how it started out. It was a barrel just like this one. I cut it off here at the shoulder, just below the neck of the barrel. Right here where it starts to reduce in size, where it starts to taper, I cut it off so that it was a straight sides. And I also cut the bottom out of the one that I buried. But it was a barrel exactly like this one. Now, if you put big ones, big species, large timber species specifically, in something that's meant for a much smaller species like this, there will be problems. Number one, it's not going to reach its growth potential. Number two, you run the risk of an escape. So for penjing, using pots to reduce size works out great because you're matching your scale of your landscape more closely, right? When you're putting it in the yard, you don't want problems. So you want to put in a regular bamboo barrier if you're putting in a large species with ample room. I usually suggest a bed of at least 300 square feet for the larger bamboo. So it's important to take into consideration the size of the species that you are dealing with so that you don't run into problems in the landscape and so that it stays contained as planned, if that's the way you have to contain it. But this is really heavy duty plastic as well. It's not thin, cheap plastic. This was a thick food grade barrel, like pickles would come in commercially. It's like a pickle brine barrel. Various things come in barrels like that. But anyway, that has been a look here at what confinement does to bamboo when it's too small, such as that penjing back there, which is a good thing in that case. But also, what you don't want to go for when you're planting larger ones, big ones like Phylostachy species. You don't want to put them in something that is sized for only like Ploblastus or Sasa or something like that, because you don't want them to escape. You don't want them to burst it, and you don't want them to go out under it. Now, when you're installing a regular bamboo barrier, you want to install it so that the sides slightly slope out at the top. That way, if the rhizomes hit it, they're deflected upward and outward, and you can snip them off above the barrier. And that's something else I forgot to point out. You'll notice this barrier here is actually a few inches above ground. This is actually a little high. It could have been lower. But this is so that if any rhizomes come up, I can spot them in time and snip them off with garden shears before they turn over the edge and go into the soil on the other side outside of the barrier. You don't want that. So that's a few things to take into consideration when doing a barrier or a pot or any other type of confinement for a bamboo root system. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a like, subscribe, and share. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, thank you for stopping by and take care. Bye.